All right, guys.
Okay, great.
Bruce, let me introduce you. Let me do a few housekeeping things, and then I'm going to introduce you, and then I'm going to let you take it away.
Fantastic.
So welcome, everybody, to another Espresso Agent Mastery session. We do these twice a month. They're awesome added value for you as an Espresso Agent client. These fine people at Espresso Agent just want to bring you as much added value as they can. And one of the things we do is twice a week or twice a month, we go out and we find incredible people like Bruce, who is a nationally recognized real estate coach, and he's giving us an hour of his time, which is absolutely amazing to be able to get in front of a guy like Bruce. Normally you might have to pay for this time, so this is a gift. One of the most common questions we get during these webinars is, will I be able to watch this back? And the answer is yes. Did you guys know that Espresso Agent has a YouTube channel? It's a really good YouTube channel because it's loaded with all of these replays from all of the mastery sessions we've done over the years. And you'll be able to go and see who the coach was or who the real estate agent was and then what the topic was. So go back there and spend some time. Congratulations for investing in yourself, an hour of your time for personal growth. As Bruce and I know, that is one of the most important things you can do each and every week for yourself. So today we're going to talk to Bruce Keith, as I mentioned, the coach with two first names. And Bruce has a history in corporate America, right? You came from IBM. Is that right, Bruce?
Yes. It's a long time ago, but yes.
Long time ago. And then you launched into real estate. You crushed it your first year, made over $200,000, which is definitely puts you at the top of the heap for new agent earnings. I can guarantee that. And then practiced for what, 10 or 15 years and then got into coaching?
Yeah, 10 years. And then, and that's actually where, at the end of that 10 years, I started coaching, and that's where Ren Jones and I met. And we've been friends for over 20 years now.
Yeah, he's such a good guy. And Bruce is known, guys, as from Inman News, who I don't know if you read that. It's one of our industry's leading publications. He is one of the top 25 best coaches in the business. So we are honored to have you today, Bruce. And today we're going to talk about instant sales formula. I love it. Success in
Fantastic.
Good. Take it away.
Oh, great. So, Monica, just so I'm clear, can everybody actually see the PowerPoint slide there, the instant sales formula slide?
They can see that, and then they can see just the little thumbnail visuals of you and I.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So let's get to work, everybody. It is, by my clock, just a second, 6 minutes after. So we better get rolling because I don't want to keep you too long. And on a selfish note, I have a seminar to do at noon today, so I want to make so you don't have to worry. I'm not going to drag this out, okay? Now, listen, the instant sales formula came as a result of what I learned prior to getting into real estate sales with my wife, Gloria. That's like 25, 30 years ago. But it also we refined it, because what I'm going to show you is the 5 steps that we kind of nailed down and said, okay, here's exactly what seems to be the bottom line for our business. So what I want to help you get a feeling for is get more balance in your life, but at the same time, get more business, but do it all in less time. Now, that sounds a little ridiculous. You'd say, well, hold it. Something's got to give. Actually, yeah, you know what has to give is time that we waste and time that we spend on things that really aren't going to put any money in our pockets. And it's other people's priorities, not yours. So the goal is obviously to run your business like a business. When you do that, everybody, just feel comfortable. I'm going to give you some very specific issues here. This isn't sort of a conversation from the top of a mountain 10,000 feet up. This is going to be bottom line. How do I do this? So how do I get in that 10%? So we've already talked about my track record. We don't need to spend any more time on that, other than the fact that I'm not going to be wasting your time. I'm going to be showing you exactly what works for all the people that I've coached over the years. I've coached over 1,500 people one-on-one individually, and it works. So let's find out what we're talking about here. We'll jump right into it. So I call this the instant sales formula. We're going to go through these steps one by one, but just have a look at this. And actually, if you can take a screenshot, there's going to be a couple here that you probably should take a screenshot of for yourself. Can we do that, Monica?
I'm going to take a screenshot. Everybody can just grab their phone, right? And take a screenshot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
And then we'll go through this one by one. But basically, just to get to the crux of it, the whole concept is that if you think of a Mexican restaurant, I was in one, as a matter of fact, not that long ago. And if you think of a Mexican restaurant, there's probably 80 items on the actual menu. Yeah. But when you find out, when you go back in the kitchen, and Monica, I found this was fascinating because I asked them, they've really only got about 12 ingredients that they do all this stuff with, right?
That's hilarious.
And so I wrote some of them down. So let me just read them off to you. I got them written down here. Ground beef, chili peppers, onions, black beans, cilantro, tomatoes, blah, blah, blah. But there's only about 12 of them, right? So if you look at the instant sales formula, it starts with the 5 basic components, and then we build your menu, if you will, the menu of how you run your business like a business to be in the top 10% from there. Okay? Everybody got the idea?
Yeah, that's
all right. So what you start off with is these 5 main components. So let's start in the middle, because that's where it all works out from the most effective way. And you say, okay, you've got to know your why. Now, you know what? If you're sitting there saying now to yourself, okay, here we go, another one of these, we got to figure out our goals. Look, if you don't know why you're doing this, nothing else works, because that's what gets you out of bed in the morning. Mm-hmm. And as I was saying to Monica a little while ago, everybody, I just did a seminar on this very topic yesterday, a live seminar, like when I was with the audience. And I said to somebody, so why would this be important to know your why first? And they said, so I can get out of bed on the morning. Everybody laughed. They said, so I can get out of bed in the morning on the mornings I don't feel like it. Well, that made a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm. So, for example, there's a picture of Machu Picchu. Tommy and my son Tommy and my wife Gloria and I, we actually hiked the Inca Trail back in 2013. That was a big goal. That was a why, right? Wow. Took 5 days. It was brutal, but we had a great time. We lived in tents and it was amazing. Wow. So this year, we have a goal to hike the Yukon Trail. Now, this is a picture from 1898. So I'm not doing it in the snow, and I'm not carrying boxes on my back up the hill. But this is the next one. But this is the motivation, right? This is what gets me out of bed in the morning. So you have to figure out what's your big why. And if you haven't done that yet, everybody, for crying out loud, take the time to do it. And it could be things for personal or things for business. But there has to be, so here's the rule, everybody, there has to be some personal in there, okay? So don't just say, yeah, okay, I'm going to do 27 deals and I'm going to make $197,000. That's not good enough. Figure out things like, I'm going to back up, things like this and things like this, things for your family, things for you that really make you tick. Because as I've often said to everybody, and as I've said to Ren Jones and I used to joke about this, we'd say to ourselves, you know what, it's only real estate. For crying out loud, don't make a big deal out of it. Just make it so that you're successful, right, Monica? Yeah. Helping you get the things you want to get. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the first circle. And then we start working the formula. So the second part is the 5 activities. Now, what I did was I nailed down the 5 activities that make all the difference as to whether I'm wasting my time or whether I'm being productive. Here they are. This is real simple. You'd say, well, there's got to be more to it than that. No, there isn't. Here's the 5 activities, and you should be spending, I'm going to come back to them in a second, but you should be spending 80% of your time on those 5. So just bear with me. 80% of your time doing the following: lead generation, listing property, working with buyers, lead follow-up, and negotiating offers. See, here's what I learned. The people that are successful don't get it all done. They don't get everything done. They get the important things done. Well, these are the important things. Does that make sense? Like, don't worry about trying to do everything.
Hey, wait, Bruce, you don't have...
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't have reorganizing my database or rebranding my marketing on there. So that's not...
That's right. Right? That's right. And And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but
Right.
guess what? If you had to make a choice,
Yep.
these are the things you have to do every day. I'm going to show you some techniques, by the way, because the next part of focusing 80% of your time on those 5 is the next circle. This is the third component, and it's time mastery. So if we started out this conversation, and Monica started off 10 minutes ago and said, okay, everybody, write down the number 1 challenge you have in the business right now. And she said, now think about it, everybody. I'm not talking about dealing with Bob Smith, who's a difficult seller and all that stuff. No, from 2,000 feet, what's your biggest challenge? It's always time mastery, because you got so much stuff pulling at you all the time. So I'm going to show you the fact that says 90% of all salespeople are always in react mode. 90%. Now, if you want to be in that 10% we talked about, you can't be playing whack-a-mole all day. You guys know what whack-a-mole is? Is that something familiar, Monica?
Yes, and it's a great analogy.
Yeah, it's a little game that we all, we take our kids to the fall fair or the exhibition or whatever it is, and we play this game with them, and the mole pops up and you hit it with a hammer. Then the next one pops up and you hit it with a hammer. Well, it doesn't stop when you stop being a kid. You keep doing it in the business. You got to stop doing that. So, is this your day, or is this your day, right? So, here's what you have to understand, everybody. I'm going to show you some time management techniques here, but here's a hierarchy for you to think about. Now, let me just walk you through this, because this is critical. So if you're going to take a picture of anything, take a picture of this one today, because this is a good one. So you see, we start off at the bottom, and we establish our personal goals. So you'd say, okay, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, and I'm going to take the kids to Disney World. There's my 2 goals. And my business plan says I'm going to do, like I said, 27 deals and $197,000. Okay, there's my stuff. So then my activities, we've already talked about that. There's only 5 of them. You spend 80% of your time on that. So I'm going to get to the fun part in a second. So you need to have a daily schedule, a schedule that says, when am I going to do those activities? All right, now here's the most important one, habits. You have to figure out, if I do it at the same time every day, I don't have to think about it, it just happens. If I'm supposed to prospect every day from 9 till 11:30, and I do it every day, then I don't think about it, it just happens. It becomes my routine, and it becomes automatic. And so everybody, think about this. Just trying to think of a metaphor for you. Well, let's say, let's do something silly. If it was 9:30 in the morning, you should be out of bed by then. I'm being silly, but you guys know where I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Like, if it's 9:30, you're not laying in bed. That's a habit to get out of bed earlier. So you'd say, okay, my habit is to get out of bed at 6:30 every morning. That becomes a routine. Then it becomes automatic. I don't have to think about it. Now, let me give you an example, everybody. If you were turning left into your office, so you were turning left into a driveway to do a listing presentation, you don't think about putting your turn indicator on, right, Monica?
Right.
You just do it,
yeah.
Right? You just do it. That's a habit. So how much time did you think about it? None. Okay, so now you got it figured out. All you have to say to yourself is, perfect. Now I've got my routine in place. It becomes automatic. Then I stop wasting time on things that take away from what I have to do. Remember what I said. People don't get done everything. The successful people only get the important stuff done. So we have to figure out what those things are, and that's the 5 things. So this is like having the key to the vault once you have these habits in place. Now let me tell you something that's the best part of all. I'm going to go back on this chart for a second. There's nothing on there about self-discipline. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to have self-discipline. You just have good habits. So let me show you 3 techniques. Okay, the first one, so these are techniques for staying on track. The first one is called a year at a glance. So you go to Staples or Office Depot or whatever it is, and you buy one of these. They're 2 feet by 3 feet. I have one on my wall in my office. They're 2 feet by 3 feet, and they're dry erasable. You've all seen them. No big deal. Now, don't get one that's 90 days. Get one that's a whole year, okay? So what you do with that is you start marking on it there's 4 different things you want to put on there. See the red V at the top, everybody? That's vacation. So you mark down when you're going on vacation. Now, you don't put it after you've been on vacation. You put it in advance, something to look forward to. The black W, I put that down what I call weekends, but it could be a Wednesday that you take off. Every Wednesday you don't work for whatever reason. So you'll see I've got Saturday, Sunday, or whatever marked off there. So get those days marked off. You don't have to be perfect on those days. Those are the days when you're not working. E is for education. So the blue E is for, if you're going on a course, or like at Keller Williams right now, they just finished family reunion, all that stuff. So that's what that kind of thing is. Now here's the important part. Look at the 1, 2, 3 part. You see at the bottom there, those are the days in a row that you prospected, or the days in a row that you went to the gym, or the days in a row, whatever it is you're trying to measure to stay consistent with. So you don't have to think about it, you keep track of it. Now, you see where it says 1, 2, 3, 4 there in September, and then on September 10th, the guy screwed up and he had to put an X in. He didn't prospect. So then he got back on track and started prospecting again. What the whole idea here is to have a visual of staying on track. And every time you screw up, you got to put an X and start over. Guess what happens, Monica?
You try to beat the last one. Yeah.
Exactly. And you say, okay, never again am I going to fall off track. So there's one technique, everybody. It's a visual that holds you accountable. The second one is priorities first. Remember I said that if successful people don't get everything done, they only get the important things done. Well, what you should do every morning or the night before, whatever works best for you, is you should write down the top 3 things you have to get done that day, the things that must be completed. So for example, I wrote down today, I have to drop some stuff off to my accountant, literally before I do that seminar. So I wrote down, drop off envelopes to Jeff. So that's one of the things I have to do today. I don't care if it's 8:30 at night, I have to get those 3 things done. The second thing I said was be inspiring on the Espresso webinar. So I'm pumping myself saying, come on, Bruce, be the best, help these guys, give them this great information. So those top 3 get done, everybody, then you'll be doing the things that are important and you'll not be worrying about everybody else. So there's the second technique for time mastery. The third one, this is a really cool one. It's called understand what your keystone habit is. Everybody's got habits. We've got bad habits, see them at the bottom, and then the people that are successful, they have good habits. So you've got to discover what your keystone habit is. Let me tell you what the keystone habit is, and then we'll talk about how you can figure it out. See those dominoes? Well, the very first domino on the right, at the bottom right there, that was the keystone habit. And when that one kicks in, everything else happens the way it's supposed to. So let me tell you a little story, and this will help you figure out what your keystone habit is. When the keystone habit kicks in, the rest of your day goes beautifully. So I'm going to tell you how to figure this out in a second, but I'll give you a story. I've got a guy I coach by the name of Andrew, and he was having trouble getting on the phone, Monica, prospecting by 9 o'clock in the morning. That was his schedule. Remember we talked about having a daily schedule, right? Okay. So he's having trouble getting on the phone. I said, Andrew, this is on his coaching call. I said, we've got to get this nailed down. I said, what time do you have to be in the office to get on the phone by 9? He said, 8:30. I said, okay, well then what time do you have to leave the house? He said, probably 8. So, okay, what time would you have to get up so you can leave by 8? Well, he's got little kids. So he said, I'd probably got to be up by 6:30. I said, great. So getting up at 6:30 should be your keystone habit, right? He said, no, not really. I said, why? And he said, it really should be going to bed on time. He said, I should be in bed by 10:30. He said, because then I'll get up on time and everything will be okay. And he said, then my day will work out. He says, when I do that, everything works. I said, fine. So is that your keystone habit, going to bed by 10:30? He said, yeah. And then he stopped. And Monica, this was fascinating. I've never forgotten this. He said, that's not really what it is. He said, if I don't turn the TV, this was funny, but this is him, right? So everybody's got a different one. If I don't turn the TV off by 10 o'clock, I'm not in bed by 10:30, not up at 6:30, leave the house at 8, at the office by 8:30, and on the phone by 9. Bang! Wow. Isn't that cool?
Yes, that is amazing how he worked through that.
Right. So it had nothing to do with getting on the phone by 9 because he had to turn the TV off by 10 the night before. Everybody, if you figure out, no, you'd say, well, how do I figure out what my keystone habit is, Bruce? So for him, it was to go to bed at 10 o'clock, or sorry, turn the TV off at 10. But everybody, just think about it this way. When you have a really good day, think backwards to what kicked it off. And it could have been the night before. It doesn't matter. You know, it could have been, well, I didn't have that third glass of wine, or it could be anything. Okay. But figure out what it is and then start following that. And I guarantee you those dominoes will fall the way you want them to.
And it's
Does that make sense?
It's interesting to peel back a couple layers more than you think. Like right when you think you have it, ask yourself,
yes,
well, what before that makes sure that happens? Like he did.
There you go. Yeah. So for me, for example, I write my personal goals out every day. Those personal goals we talked about, I've got 7 of them. I write them out every single day. And as a matter of fact, hang on for a sec. I've got them on a little card here. See this? It's laminated. And I put them in my pocket. I got them with me every day. That's my keystone habit. If I don't write my goals out every day, everything else is screwed up. But don't worry about it. That's me, not you. You have to figure out what yours is. Okay. So everybody, this is your day now. Straight and narrow. Ta-da! You're there. So that's the time mastery component. Now, obviously, there's a lot more. But the bottom line is just think of those 3 things. The year-at-a-glance calendar, then the 3 things you write down every day that I have to do today, no matter what. And then number 3, obviously, was the one we just talked about, is figure out what your keystone habit is. That kicks everything off. Okay, now we got to go to the 4th circle. Now this one I've got to move fairly quickly on because there's some really good material I want to share with you here. But when you think about, if you look at the way these are building, we've got, I'm pointing at it for myself here now, know your why, then the 5 activities I spend 80% of my time on, then I do it every day consistently, day after day after day, and then now I can start building on my skills. Real life sales skills are what takes you from being average to being a superstar producer. And you acquire those over time. You aren't born with, the good news is you aren't born a salesperson. You're born with the ability to do something about it and acquire the knowledge. So I'm going to show you 3 real life sales skills and little components within each. The first one I've got is called BK's Sales Conversation Secrets. I've got about 35 of these, but that I've accumulated over these years, but they're just little things you can say that make a difference. So I'm going to share 3 of them with you. The first one is called the stop and think technique. And it's designed to when your client wants to do something that isn't particularly wise, like let's say they said they wanted to sell it themselves, a FSBO. You'd say, well, that's dumb, but you can't say that to them, right? So you have to say, okay, so what would it be how would I create some doubt in their mind? So here's the lines that I use. I'd say, you create doubt, you'd say, so you were thinking of selling it yourself, or you were thinking of not interviewing more than one agent, or you were thinking of going with a discount broker, whatever. So you would say to them, that's interesting. Why would you want to do that? And you kind of screw up your face. Why would you want to do that? Sort of like you're sucking a lemon, everybody, okay? Like make it look like it's a dumb idea. But you don't say that. You just say, why would you want to do that? And then they'll defend themselves. And then whatever they say, I don't care. Then you say, that sort of approach may not serve you very well. May I explain? That opens it up for you to give them. So you create a doubt. Then you use your objection handler. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of objection handlers in a minute. But this opens the door to do that. Okay? So that's one sales conversation secret. Let me show you another one. So I'm sorry about this slide. I don't know. I haven't been able to fix it. I've been stumbling with it, but it's called the I'm stumped technique. Okay, so I hope you can read that. The I'm stumped technique. This is when someone says something to you and you think to yourself, jeepers, I'm stumped. I don't know where to go next. I don't know what the heck to say. Well, you just need a couple of seconds to think because you usually will come up with the answer. So here's what you would say. So let's say they said, you'd say, okay, are you guys ready to go ahead and put your home on the market? And they said, no, we're just going to think about it. We'll let you know. We've all heard that baloney excuse, which doesn't mean anything. So here's the line you use. The sales conversation secret number 2 says, okay, great. So what's the next step for you? So what it forces them to do is to think about what they're really going to do next. And oftentimes you can suggest what the next step ought to be. Because in that case, you'd say, well, let's review what we just discussed here. You said you want to move in June, and you said you want to be out of here as soon as school's over. We really should look at the timing. Let me go over that with you again, blah, 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 and away you go. Okay, everybody? If you don't know what to say, ask them what the next step is for them, and you will find it's an amazing way to get a breather. If you ever had this thought, you say, oh, let me go to the car for a second, Mrs. Smith, so I can think about what I'm going to say to you next. Well, you can't do that. This is what allows you to do that. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Here's number 3. Oh, that slide's doing it again. I'm sorry. So this is a beauty. This is called the are you okay technique. Have you guys ever had that situation where you're following up with a customer and you've been in touch and you've talked to each other 4 or 5 times, a buyer or a seller, and then all of a sudden they disappear? I mean, they just don't respond. They don't do anything. Right, Monica?
Yeah, so yes.
Right. Well, we've all had them. And you think, what happened? Did they get hit by a train or something? Right? So here's the technique. Now, just bear with me and understand where I'm going here. You send them a note, or you leave them a voicemail, or you text them, or an email, I don't care what it is, and you say to them, hey, Mrs. Jones, it's Bruce calling from Espresso. Geez, I haven't been able to reach you lately. I'm getting concerned. Are you okay? Now, everybody, when you look at this and you're on this call today that Monica's lined up for us, and you think to yourself, what is that? That's a mess. Trust me, you got to try this one. You will not believe how amazing it is at getting results. Now, I figured out why, because I used this many, many times years ago. But here's what I figured out. When you're initially talking to them, you're dealing at a business level. So see my hand. You're dealing at a business level. When you say to them, I'm getting concerned, are you okay? You're now dealing at a personal level. So I'm pointing to my heart, right? You're dealing, it's gone from business to personal. All of a sudden, you'd be amazed how fast they'll respond. Mm-hmm. Now, it doesn't work every time because some people are just flat out rude. But I will tell you, if all you get out of today's session is to take this idea away, take it. You'll be amazed because half of the people will get back to you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was doing a seminar a while back, Monica, and I gave this example, and somebody said, I'm going to try it. I've got so-and-so. They're right in the audience. They said, I'm going to try it. So they're on their phone, sending out this text. 5 minutes later, she puts her hand, I just heard back from them. Like everybody clapped and everything. It was really exciting, but it does work. Okay, so there's the first, everybody. There's the first of the 3 sales conversation secrets. Now, all the things that I have that I'm going to show you, because I'm going to do objection handling next, all the things that I have come from a product that we sell, and that's the only thing I'm going to talk to you about investing in from today. We have an event special, and you'll see there's 6 CDs, there's 5 books. Ren knows about this product because we've had it for quite some time, and it's been highly successful. It's all scripts and dialogues. It's what to say and how to say it. But I'll talk to you about it at the end of our session if you're interested. I'll make a deal for you. Okay, let's go. Second, sales skill. So from this product here, all these objection handlers I'm going to show you are also in here. So the first objection handler, I'm going to do 3 of these. Okay, Monica?
Yeah.
Just hang on, everybody. Do me just a second. Just checking the clock. 10:32. Okay, I got to keep moving. Objection handler number 1. The seller says, we're going to wait. We're not in a rush. Besides, the prices might go up. Well, as everybody knows, the prices might go up, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be in their favor because the prices are going up. Other things happen. So here's the objection handler. So you would say, okay, well, that's interesting. Why would you want to do that? Well, we want more money. Well, that sort of approach may not serve you very well. You guys remember that sales conversation secret number 1? Creating doubt? Okay, so here's the answer. That may not serve you very well. Can I explain? You see, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, the interesting thing is that the feds decided not to put the rates up, but the indication is that they are going to be going up 1 or 2 times more this year coming up. there's two impacts on you on that. Neither one of them serves you very well for waiting. Number one is it's going to make it tougher for the buyers because they'll have to pay more for their mortgage payment. And guess what? That means they're going to want to pay less, or it will actually eliminate some buyers and you won't even be able to sell your house to them. So that's one thing that doesn't work in your favor. Can I tell you what the second one is? Now, what is it, Bruce? The second one is you guys are going to be having a house you're buying and you're going to have a mortgage still, right? Yeah, I'm afraid so. Great. Well, that interest rate's not going to help you either. So both those things work in your disfavor. Let's look at setting a plan in place that we can beat the competition. Let's get your house on the market, get it sold, and get you guys moved and get that dream home purchased before the rates go up. Fair enough? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, let's sit down and I'll show you what I mean, and then we'll decide. Fair enough? Okay. All right, so there's the first one. The second one, the buyer says, we're going to make a low offer. We're looking for a deal. So they want to, it's a $600,000 house, and they're going to offer $550,000. Excuse me. Well, first of all, that's crazy. We all know that. If the house is priced right, the $550,000 is not going to work. So what's the challenge, everybody? Think about that yourself. You've all been through that. The challenge is this. You're going to make there's the seller on the left, and there's you on the right, or that's the buyer on the right, okay? So what you've got to say to them is just say, okay, why would you want to do that? Well, that sort of approach is not going to serve you very well. Can I explain? See, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if you go in on a property, let's say that you owned a house that was worth $600,000 and somebody offered you $550,000, how would you feel? Say, well, I don't know, that's their problem. You say, no, it isn't their problem. It's our problem if we do it the wrong way. If we make them mad, we're not going to be able to negotiate a good deal for you. If we can negotiate a good deal for you, guess what? You're going to either walk away, be disappointed, or pay too much. I'm not going to let that happen. So let's make a decent bid. Let's say we start our offer at $575,000, and let's see how low we can get them to go. But don't make them mad and start off behind the eight ball, and then all we've got is somebody that's angry. Fair enough? Okay, so that's the second objection handler. The third one is, if you had to go for a price reduction, oftentimes they'll say, well, you know, they can always make an offer. You've got to say to them, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we've got to put ourselves in the shoes of a buyer. So think about it this way. If our house isn't, if our house isn't priced in the top 1, 2, or 3 of all the homes that we're competing with, then why would they waste their time putting in an offer? They'll just go on to the next one. So when you said to me that you said, well, they can always make an offer, the fact is what we've learned is they don't make an offer. They just go to the next house. Mm-hmm. So we've got to be one of those. Okay, everybody got the idea? So these are real life sales skills. They come from that scripts and dialogues package that I have. Now, you don't have to buy it. I'm just saying if you want it, we're making it available. But the main thing is step number 4 in the instant sales formula is you've got to master your scripts, dialogues, and what to say and how to say it. There's one more, presentation skills. This is the last skill we'll touch on, and then we'll go to the 5th circle. You've got to show them that you're different. Everybody has got a marketing plan, but what you've got to start off with is saying to them, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, there's really only 3 things we have to decide on tonight. Number 1, are we moving? Number 2, what price should we ask for our home? How much can we get? And number 3 is who will we hire? So let me ask you, are you guys moving? Yeah, we're moving. We're going to Middlebrook. Great, well, that's exciting. Let's now look at what price we can get for your home. Let's go through the competition and see how high we can put the price. So then you do the CMA, right, everybody? So think of this approach. People don't want a 4-hour listing presentation anymore. They want to know what's going on. Are we moving? What price? And then you say, okay, all we've got to decide now is who we're going to hire. It's the same as any business. Who do we get to do the best job for us? Well, your job is to show them why you're different. Here's your secret sauce. And now all I'm suggesting to you is make sure you've got a good, solid marketing plan that you can present to them. And think about it this way. It isn't so much what's in the secret sauce, it's how you present it. Mm-hmm. You've got to present it in a way that's compelling that leads them to say, you know what, I'm excited about this person. They really seem to be on the ball. So for example, one of the things we do, Mrs. Jones, is we're going to door knock everybody in the neighborhood here. I'm going to go to a minimum of 100 homes to see who might have a friend or relative that wants to move into the area. Well, why would you do that? Because guess what? This is a nice area, right? Yeah, we're sorry to be leaving. Okay, fine. At the same time, they might have somebody that wants to move in. We'll find that buyer, and guess what? Other agents aren't going to do that. They're just going to stick a sign on the lawn and hope that somebody shows up. So what would you rather have? Someone that's going to be proactive and get out there and do the things that are necessary, or somebody that's going to wait in the office eating donuts waiting for the phone to ring? I'm that agent. So we get started. So there's a very short snapshot of how you can present your secret sauce in a much more compelling, exciting way. Okay, hope you guys are keeping up. Well, I'm sure you are, but I hope you're getting it, okay? Okay, so there's what we've covered in real life sales skills: sales conversation secrets, objection handling, presentation skills. Now, obviously, in the 5 minutes we just spent on that, we're not going to cover all the real life sales skills, but guess what? It never stops. I have somebody coaching me on my presentation skills. I've had a coach for years that I pay to help me be stronger on my feet presenting. So I'm no different than you guys. It never stops. Just that I got a few more miles on me years-wise, that's all, okay? Okay, perfect. So you're almost there, everybody. So we're going now to the last circle, the repeatable business systems. So look where we've gone to. We've gone from knowing your why to the 5 activities that are necessary 80% of the time, to mastering your time, to having great sales skills. Now you need systems to make you work at your best. So think of it this way. Systems are like the ribbon on the whole package. So, you know, think of McDonald's. I'll do this real quick. But if you think of McDonald's as a metaphor, when McDonald's has a staff turnover and somebody quits, say the burger flipper quits, and they bring somebody else in the next morning, they hire that person, they bring them in and say, okay, you're going to be flipping burgers. Nothing changes. The system keeps running. They keep selling burgers. They keep selling tons of French fries, and the customer never notices that anything's changed. That's because of the system. That's the ribbon on the package. So as an entrepreneur, you need to have good systems. So I want to give you some examples of systems, because you're so close when you do that. So let me just read a couple off to you here that I've written down, just so you'll get a flavor for where I'm going. You need a people farming system. So Espresso, for example, offers you a system for following up, staying in touch, and all the rest of it. You need a system for farming, geographic farming. I'm just reading my little list here. Scripts and dialogue system that I offered you there earlier. Or how about this one? Managing your money system. Or how about a buyer presentation system, or listing property system, or lead generation, or follow-up. All these are systems that you need to have in place. Now, don't be overwhelmed with it. Let me show you an example of a system for running your business like a business. This is what I call the success cycle. You might want to take a snapshot of this one too, guys, ladies. It's called a system to run my business. It looks like a clock, okay? So right at the top is business goals. Remember we said I'm going to do 27 deals and 190,000, whatever it was. Those are my goals. Then the activities we've already talked about. We said, okay, I have 5 activities I've got to do 80% of the time. Lead prospecting, buyer showings, working with sellers, lead follow-up, and the last one was negotiating contracts. Those are the 5. Then you have a schedule. You see the purple one there at 4 o'clock? The purple one says this is when I'm going to do those things on a day-to-day basis, every day, time after time. And then I've got, as a result of that, at 6 o'clock, I create a routine. So then I work on my skills because I've got everything else in place. I just get better at doing it. Remember we talked about more balance, more business in less time. So your results, you see at 10 o'clock there, become better and better and better. And then you go back to your business goals and you start over and maybe you bump it up. This is a system. So that's just one system. What I'm suggesting you do, so here's some examples on the bottom of that circle there. Lead generation system, listing system, buyer system, etc. What you want to do is make sure that you've got systems in place, because if you think of the McDonald's metaphor, you'll be way more efficient. way, way more efficient. And of course, when we do coaching and all the rest of it, and the things that Ren and Monica and everybody does for you at Espresso, those are things designed to make your systems more effective. Okay, so you should start with a couple. Figure out, you'd say to yourself, well, I've already got all those systems. Hold it. I'm not saying you don't have them. Here's what I'm saying. You can make them stronger, make them better. I was watching a video this morning of a guy that's a mentor of mine, Darren Hardy, and he has a program every morning I watch it called DarrenDaily.com. If you're interested, check it out. It's only like a 5-minute video, and it's very inspirational. DarrenDaily.com. Anyway, what he said was, he's interviewed people like Jeff Bezos and people like Richard Branson and people like Oprah and all the rest of it. He said they all are working on getting better at what they do every day. So it isn't like you'd say, well, I've already got a system for lead generation. I didn't say you didn't have one. What could you do to make it better? Could you be more consistent? Could you actually get an extra couple of calls in? That sort of thing. Okay, we're almost done. Now you've got the Mexican restaurant. Go back to that. Your kitchen is now stocked. Your 5 items for your menu are all there, right? So here's what we've covered. Know your why in the middle, 5 activities, master your time, work on your sales skills, and then have systems to support all that. And let me see, where are we? Now you're running your business like a business. And now you're in the top 10%. Now, here's the important thing. Don't hang up from this session, for crying out loud. Don't hang up from this session and say, well, that's great. Okay, now I'm back to work. I'm busy. Geez, I got to get a lot of stuff done today. Hold it. Take 1 or 2 of these ideas and say, okay, I'm going to do that. Like, for example, what if you said to yourself, I'm going to start writing out my personal goals every day, or I'm going to figure out my keystone habit, or I'm going to write down the 3 things I have to do today, no matter what. And I'm going to do it every morning. Okay? So everybody, don't walk away from this and say, yeah, okay, that's fine. That was great stuff. Thanks, Espresso. Thanks, Monica. What was that guy's name? Bruce? Yeah, okay. And then go back to normal. Do something different, okay? Pick one of these things and run with it. And just say to yourself, or maybe watch this again and say, okay, now I've got an idea what I'm going to do next. Okay, so congratulations. I'm checking my clock here, everybody. How are we doing? 10:46.
15 minutes, yep.
Okay, so more balance, more business, less time. And I'll put this screen up. If you're interested in this product here, the All the Right Words package, it's over 5 hours of recordings. You can go on my website. You'll see it at the top there, right? And you can check it out, and you can actually get the downloadable version if you'd rather have that for $199. So whatever works for you. This isn't a big sales pitch. It's just that if you're interested in taking your skills to the next level, this will do it for you. We've sold well over 1,500 of these. Okay, Monica, where do we go next?
Well, first of all, there's some incredible stuff in there. And the fact that you can get this package for $199 downloaded, I mean, if that's one of your goals is to increase your skills, this is a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer because it's your approach is very practical. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, people keep saying that to me. They said, Bruce, I went to see this other seminar, and it was kind of like sitting on a mountain wearing a robe and everybody was humming. They said, here's just bottom line. Here's what you got to do. And don't kid yourself. If you don't do this, see, here's the thing. If you don't do this stuff, you're not going to be successful. It isn't like I made it up. This is what people do to be successful.
Right. And so do you think one of the biggest mistakes, or that what the folks on the call should resist, is trying to do too much, overcomplicate, overimprove? Like it sounds like it really has to be organic and at small little increments.
Yeah, I went to a seminar 3 or 4 years ago, and I watched this guy talk about goals. And he said, he was on stage, it was live, he was on stage, he said, my goal is, so he turned sideways, Monica, and he said, my goal is to get over to the other curtain. I want to walk over there. That's my goal. Mm-hmm. And then he said, so I'm going to start. And he said, but I'm not going to be looking at the curtain. I'm going to look at my feet. And I thought to myself, where's he going here? He said, Every once in a while, I'll look up and look at the curtain, but I'm going to keep watching my feet, just one step at a time. It's not the big goal that gets me there, that gets me to the big goal. It's the little steps, like you said.
Yeah.
So one of the little steps would be to get that year-at-a-glance calendar and put it on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
One of the little steps might be to put your goals on this little card. I went to Staples and they laminated it for me, but something that's going to help you do something different. Don't just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's like grounding to it, but not living in it, because sometimes that goal, that year-end goal, looks so far off. Either A, we think it's not attainable, or B, we think, oh, we've got time.
Oh, that's great. Yes. See, for example, I was doing a business plan conversation, like the business goals of one of my coaching clients the other day, and what he said, what we figured out was that he had to list, what was the number? He had to list 24 properties. And he listed about 50% of the ones he went on. So 24 properties in the next year. So we figured out that he should go on 48 listing appointments. So guess what we did? We said, fair enough. I don't care about the 48. That'll drive you crazy. Mm-hmm. You have to get one listing appointment this week.
That's it. That's it.
Thank you. That's it. Right. Yeah. Or I have to do 20 contacts this morning. What about tomorrow? Don't worry about tomorrow. Just figure out today.
Yeah. Yeah. Win each day. And watch what happens with the compounding effect of that.
There we go.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, everybody, there's a great book you can invest in called The Compound Effect. It's written by that fellow I mentioned, my mentor, Darren Hardy.
I love it.
It's called The Compound Effect. And it's exactly what Monica's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, you wrote a book, too, about consistency, right? And so that's sort of related in that way, correct?
Yes, because I became obsessed with the whole concept of not having the self-discipline problem. Just figure out what's the next thing I'm supposed to be doing and make it a habit. Mm-hmm. And then I heard this metaphor. They said all the things that we have that interrupt us, like I'm holding up my cell phone here. This is a benefit, but it's also an interruption. The computer I'm talking to right now is an interruption. It's like it's got a dog collar around our neck, and every time it does something, it yanks at us. Mm-hmm. So what we have to be able to do is to say, I'm not going to let that dog collar have any power over me. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And the other thing was, I heard this one just today, as a matter of fact. It was do what you do best. No, hang on, let me say it again. Look after yourself first, and then you can help everybody else. You know that old metaphor about the oxygen mask that comes down in the airplane, right? Yeah. Right. So look after yourself first. And it's not being selfish, for crying out loud. That's just look after yourself first. And yourself includes your family, obviously.
And that's not selfish. That's called self-care, and they're very different, but we confuse them, I think, all the time.
Oh, I like that. See, we don't have to make everybody else happy. Just make the people that are important to us happy.
Yeah, just like you were telling us the top 5 things you need to do.
Absolutely. That's it.
So for the folks on the call who maybe are sitting here saying, all right, Bruce, I get it. This seems doable. I think I can embrace some of these. What would you say is the number one most important thing to get started with? Is it the center of the circle and we just have to make sure that's in place?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And do you have an exercise to take people through for their why is, it's kind of come to be known?
Yeah, that's a great question. Great question. So everybody, to answer that question, write down 3 words. So this is the exercise to figure out what your goals are. Because you know what everybody says? They say, oh, I got my goals. I said, okay, where are they? Let me see them. Oh, no, well, they're in my head. I said, well, that's not good enough. Mm-hmm. I said, so write them down. So here's the 3 words. Write down my health. Well, actually, that's 2 words. Yes. Right? 3 phrases. Write down health. Right. 3 phrases. My health, my family, and my financial future. So there's the 3 phrases. My health, my family, my financial future. So what you do, and this is what I did, is I wrote down 2 things for each of those 3 categories. So I wrote down 2 things for my health, I wrote down 2 things for my family, and 2 things, for my financial future. Now I've got 6 goals. And then I go through them every day. I've also got a dream board in my office, and I'm sure that many of you have a dream board, but if you don't get one, make it up. Put it on the wall. Get pictures up there. So those are the things. And then the second thing I would do after I figure out my personal goals, is I figure out how many deals I want to do this year and how much money that would make me. And that's what we do in our coaching is we start off and we say, okay, what's your business plan? Let us help you build your business plan. How many listings do I have to go on, appointments, et cetera, et cetera? How many buyer's showings do I have to have? And then we just work from there. And it's amazing. If you do that, then you'd say, okay, well, what do I do after that? Well, now I figure out, what do I have to do to hit those numbers? What are my activities? And it just follows this whole cycle that we just did.
Mm-hmm.
But it starts with my health, my family, and my financial future, to answer your question.
Seems like success could be really boring in that way once you master each day in that way. I mean, is there some element of success is boring, like on your way to success, right?
And that's why, that's very good what you said. So let me just see if I can go back here real fast. So bear with me. I just want to show you guys this. That's why this year at a glance is such a huge asset, because what it does is it allows you to put in the days when you're not going to be working. We didn't spend a lot of time on this, but that's where you start. You say, what are the days I'm not going to work? Mm-hmm. What are my vacation days? See, I use red V because it jumps out. Mm-hmm. What are the days I'm not going to be, what's the day I'm not going to be, I'm just going to spend with my family during the week, etc. Mm-hmm. And then you'd say, okay, that takes the boredom out of it because all the other days are days I work.
Mm-hmm. So I love the 1, 2, 3, 4, like monitoring your days in a row, especially if you guys recognize as somebody who's competitive in any way, that triggers my like competitive nature with myself. Right?
Yep. And you say, so here's what, excuse me for interrupting. Here's what I learned, Monica. I learned that once you get to day number 11, 12, or 13, now don't forget, hang on for a sec. Excuse me. Don't forget that 11, 12, or 13, it allows you, like you don't have to work 11, 12 days in a row. What you have to do is take the days off and then continue on.
Okay, that was going to be my question. So if you have a vacation planned and on January 6th, you're on day 4, well, January 13th is day 5.
That's it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And so but here's the thing. Once you get to day number 11, 12, or 13 in a row, you become really entrenched saying there's no frigging way I'm going to start over again. That's stupid.
Right.
And you become, it becomes, so coaching that we do, if anybody, by the way, is interested in the coaching, you can check out my website. All the information's there, and then we'll do a call with you, a free call, but just to see if there's a fit. But the main thing is that if in fact you recognize the accountability factor of this chart, coaching gives you accountability from external purposes, but internal, this is internal. It'll be staring you in the face every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love
so
this.
I used it for years.
That's great.
Like, I still have one on the wall. I still use it, but I used it for my prospecting, and I got up to, this is legit, I got up to 263 days before I blew it. Okay. Now that was after a lot of hard work and a lot of practice. And I thought, oh, I'm really special. I'm Mr. Big Time. I met this guy in Florida named Jim Sullivan, excuse me, who was over 750 days in a row. And I thought, holy cow. So the reality is you just have to compete with yourself. Forget about everybody else.
Yes, exactly. Gosh, really great information. And thank you for making it so content rich, and your pace was great. And we got a lot of information from you guys. If you have any interest in your own success and you are willing to bet on yourself, I would recommend that you call Bruce and check out what he has to offer, whether it be one-on-ones or some of these coaching packages or whatever. Invest in yourself in that way. And this isn't these are never meant to be salesy, and Bruce, you weren't, and I'm not being, but I'm saying, guys, sometimes we need to have people that are several steps ahead of us on the path, helping us guide. So I think, Bruce, you'd probably say the same thing, whether it's you or somebody else. Get somebody that's a couple chapters ahead of you. And
oh yeah, and I always loved that. I always loved that expression. It came from a guy an entrepreneur from Toronto. That I love the line. His name is Harvey Brooker, and the line is, "If you could do it alone, you would have done it already."
yes,
And
right.
it just kind of puts it in perspective for all of us.
Yeah, it's so
That's why we go to the gym. That's why we have a coach. That's all of it.
It's so true. It's so true.
But the same thing that Espresso Agent offers you guys is, so let me scratch your back too, because that's an outside influence that gives you something that you couldn't do on your own.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really shortens your research time. It's a no-brainer, the amount that you can pack into a morning in the way of talking to people
Right.
who have their hands raised for your help.
Yeah, which is all about this again: more balance, more business, less time.
Yeah, you got it. Bruce, you're
Okay.
awesome. Tell your wife, Gloria, thanks for the technical help on the front end. She's awesome too.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yes.
She's amazing.
Good luck in your...
So thanks, everybody. Happy New Year. And I know it's February, but we got lots of time left, so let's get to work. And don't forget, one day at a time, okay?
At a time. I like it. All right, guys, have a great week. Thanks, Bruce.
Take care. Thanks, Monica.
All right, bye.